protect the climate, we're changing in ways that might surprise you. We've turned to the most experienced fluid dynamics experts in the world to make airplanes more efficient. We're planning a heat pump the size of a soccer field to reduce our own emissions. Blazing a trail with recycling technology to breathe new life into old electric vehicle batteries. And to power our own factories. We're building an offshore wind farm, the biggest in the world. To protect the climate, we're changing, getting inspiration from all kinds of places and all kinds of people.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our last session of Sustainable by Design. My name is Ben Glavatsky. I'm the Sustainable Business Strategy Manager at BASF, and have been your host for these sessions over the last 2 weeks. So thank you all for attending today, and if you've attended other sessions, thank you for attending those as well. So since this is our last session, I want to take just an extra minute to thank the core planning team. So most of you won't know who that is, but those have been the group that has been working behind the scenes tirelessly for months before the start of the year to bring this to you. So this is Jessica Sroon, Catherine Boyle, and Carrie Bale. So especially thank you to you all for sticking through this, making it happen. And then I know there were others behind the scenes that have helped as well. So I want to thank those people. So thank you all. The last session is our floating solar. So we'll have that coming up in just a second. Please stick around. We've got some closing comments coming up from our CEO, Mike Hines. So that'll be coming at the end of the session. And just finally, just to say that Sustainable by Design is an event series that we've been hosting during this month of April to bring sustainability awareness to the forefront. We want sustainability to be at the design phase of whatever product or service is brought to market. So we really want to bring the design phase as early as possible. So let's design with the end in mind. So for many of you, you've had a chance to attend previous sessions, so you sort of know how this all works, but just in case there are a few that are joining for the very first time and haven't had the opportunity to see the other ones, there's some speaker information on the right-hand side of your console, so you can go in there and read a little bit about the speakers that are participating today. We do have a additional resources box. So if there's any additional information, I think we have some links, any downloadable items or anything like that. There's some resources there. So an area for some interactivity there. Questions, there's an opportunity to ask questions throughout today. So please take advantage of that, and we'll do our best to answer those. And then finally, we also have the survey. So I've been asking everyone, and I'll ask the attendees for this session as well, to please answer our survey. Very, very brief. I think just one required question, and then 2 opportunities to reach out to anything you may have heard from BASF or from anyone else outside of BASF that might be of interest. If you'd like some more information on something, please use that to reach out. So I think without further ado, let's hear about floating solar.
Well, hello, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining the last session of the Sustainable by Design series. Today we're going to talk about floating solar, renewable energy at our BASF sites. So today for that discussion, we have our panelists here. We have external visitors from Noria Energy, as well as 2 of our colleagues from BASF. So let me do quickly a short introduction of our panel here. First, we have Dr. Alex Mayer. He's the Chief Technology Officer at Noria.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you for coming. We have Dr. Jimmy Rafer, also from Noria. He's the Head of Technology Development.
Good afternoon. Great to be here.
Great. And thank you for flying in from the Bayside area in California. We have here Neil DeLogio. He was a driving force for this whole project, how we all started. He's a Business Development Manager for Plastic Additives business.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you. And last but definitely not least is Dr. Joe Fay. He's a technical fellow, part of our team in Terrytown. We're our labs here for the plastic additive business. So welcome, Joe.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm very glad to be here this afternoon.
Excellent, thank you. So let's just get started, right? So there was a news release about this, what we're collaborating, and maybe Neil, you can tell us a little bit about what the project was about and more information for our viewers.
Yeah, without going into too much detail, I mean, it's a floating solar installation that has our plastic additives at our plastic additive site using a brand new first of its kind design for the pontoons. So I think that's what's gained our attention here. That's why we're here today.
Excellent. No, thank you. Perfect. So before we get into those details, maybe, Joe, you can help us understand a little bit about the plastic additives business, our office in Terry, and why this why is it useful for companies like Noria Energy to work with us?
Sure. So the BASF Plastic Additives Group is the leader in technology for antioxidants and life stabilizers for plastics. So our business is predicated on providing improved durability to plastics to increase their lifetime, improve durability, and our product portfolio is very much dedicated towards just making plastics more sustainable. They last longer when they incorporate BASF plastic additives. They improve the durability during processing and also during end use, so we can extend the life of plastics by using these high-performance functional additives. The Tarrytown site in particular is our research facility in North America. We support our customers through technical service for existing products, but also work on developing advanced formulations using our proprietary additive know-how to really help our customers meet their needs for product development and for making plastics more sustainable. And that was really important for us to have that knowledge to help Noria when they came to us for assistance with a novel idea for new technology.
Perfect. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I mean, it was the team in Terrytown that developed this additive system specifically for floating solar. And in our building and construction industry segment meetings, we talked about this. And right at the time we had developed the blend, there's legislation that came out allocating tens, if not hundreds of billions of dollars to renewable energy. The global players who operate mainly in Europe and Asia Pacific were now playing in North America. And internally, we were developing our strategy for building and construction. So we saw this new blend, this new additive. It came out at a perfect time for us to really go after floating solar. And Joe and the team, and we met Noria. I mean, I basically tried to call everybody in North America, big, large, small, medium companies, and Noria answered the phone first, so to speak.
Yeah, really glad that I did.
So, yeah, go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, I was just going to say, when looking at solar energy in North America, we really thought, kind of coming into this, that solar energy, floating solar especially, was much bigger in Asia. And we've been actually working in this area with our colleagues in China and in the Asia region to develop systems for existing, particularly and especially polyethylene molded pontoons. And we have technology for that area as well. And so we're pretty knowledgeable about floating photovoltaic systems in general. But when Noria came to us, they really had a new opportunity where we could use some of that existing knowledge and apply it towards a specific idea that they had in mind.
Excellent. So, and maybe I want to do maybe a deeper dive. I know we mentioned plastics and we're talking about sustainability. I know sometimes there's a negative connotation about plastics. So I know, Joe, maybe you can start us off. What's your view on plastics and why are they important?
Yeah. So plastics, if used responsibly, are a fantastic material, right? They're extremely flexible. They're recyclable. They've been recycled basically since they first were created. Post-industrial recyclate is very common. Manufacturers have always been pretty good at using waste streams that are generated in their plant to either be recycled back into their products, or there's always a ready market available for really taking their scrap plastic, and it would go to a distributor or some other consumer or some other market for some other use. Right now, the big push is taking single-use plastics and trying to really have a much more circular economy and find new uses for that raw material stream. And it really starts with curbside recycling for residential use plastics. Consumers have to be willing, to separate their plastics when their municipality has available recycling to really start this process. And I think there's a great future in looking at new uses for plastic materials from single use going into more durable applications, or being recycled back into sometimes the same application from which they were used. There are quite a few different technologies for mechanical recycling, for sortation, so that you can have different streams for different end-use applications.
Great, thank you, Joe. So maybe Neil, now you can go back and tell us how it all started. Why are we collaborating with Noria?
Yeah, after Noria answered the phone, I mean, we found out very quickly that they are not only innovative, but fast moving. Maybe being a smaller company helps them be nimble and agile, but we saw this as an opportunity to quickly enter a very high growth market. And yeah, we're happy that we did.
Great, and I'm sure, Joe, going back to you, from a technical standpoint, you've been collaborating. Maybe you can share a little bit about how you've been collaborating with Noria.
Yeah, so in our first call, our objective was really to understand their needs. What were they looking for, and how could BASF help? And Jimmy was able to give us a real good description of their vision for having a pontoon that was very different from the pre-existing high-density molded article. They were looking for something that would be more space-saving, so in delivering the pontoon to the site, they could get more pontoons onto a truck for cost efficiency, and that required flexible, really a flexible material that was collapsible, and that led towards discussion during that early phone call on what sorts of materials could be used, what could be readily sourced for a pilot, and immediately we had a couple ideas on flexible membranes used in kind of pre-existing uses in the geosynthetics, geomembrane market, or in the single-ply roofing industry. And we're pretty familiar with those end-use markets. We have technology specific for providing long-term life, and that really set the stage for moving forward with some preliminary designs so that Jimmy and his team could design really the structure based on this kind of very novel floating system based on a flexible kind of tubular pontoon.
Yeah, and I will say, yeah, all of the outcomes of those initial discussions and really dialing in on the material properties that we wanted, actually worked in the field and are at play in the installation at McIntosh, and we're continuing to work with the additives team at BASF to continue to improve on the material formulations that we're making to improve the product. So
great. No, thank you. And I know we kind of jumped into the project, but maybe let's take a step back and talk about Noria. Maybe Alex, you could start, tell us something about Noria.
Yeah, sure thing. We started about 5 years ago. We were based in Sausalito, California, just north of San Francisco. We have a strong passion, and the reason we kind of started our own company was we really wanted to improve the accessibility and viability of solar for heavy energy users. Like, for example, we work in the agricultural space, aggregates, mining, oil and gas, chemical, for example, y'all. And we also are working in wastewater treatment with water agencies as well as hydroelectric power plants. The approach we like to take is a very collaborative approach. So we like to work with the host customers to help them meet their clean energy goals. And sometime around 2019, we identified that one way to help people meet their goals was to develop floating solar at their sites along with traditional ground-based systems. And this kind of allowed us to increase the amount of solar that they could put on site and reduce their carbon footprint. It's been pretty successful so far. We developed the largest floating solar project in the U.S. in Healdsburg, California, in Sonoma County. That's at a wastewater treatment plant, as well as the largest floating solar project in South America at a hydroelectric power plant in Colombia. In addition, in that time, we've kind of identified a few areas for system cost improvements and improving the value proposition, and so far I've been, I'd say, pretty successful with that.
So why, maybe a deeper dive into why, floating solar, why be it on the water versus land, maybe you can expand.
Yeah, I mean, I think the number one reason is mostly just the land savings, because land has competing uses and value. For example, you want to be able to run your equipment on that land or grow crops, or for example, our project in Healdsburg, the land just adjacent was used for grape growing, for wine, which we all like. But yeah, I think the other benefits are, for example, the hydroelectric power plant. That system was really quite close to the electrical infrastructure of the system, so you save on transmission costs for getting that energy back to site. Versus if if you've seen these kind of hydroelectric systems, they're generally built in kind of rocky, hilly areas that don't have a lot of flat land. Those are some of the advantages. In addition, there's kind of some cooling benefit from being close to the water. It's a large heat sink. It keeps the solar panels much cooler than just being on the land, which leads to some efficiency improvements in the floating solar. And I think going back to the plastics question, what's nice about using the plastics for this application is that they're corrosion resistant. They are able to withstand the environment, withstand the different chemistries of the water. And I think using the BASF additive materials, we're really confident that they're going to last 30 plus years and really add significantly to reducing the carbon footprint.
Perfect. Oh, great. Great. So maybe, Jimmy, I'll go back to you, right? We talked about, working together. Maybe you could share the partnership from your side. Why work with BASF?
Yeah, kind of like we alluded to, just from that very initial meeting, it was clear to us at Noria that there was a huge potential for collaboration between our two companies. We really feel that, that BASF has the materials expertise to help grow the floating solar industry in the U.S. and globally, and to really improve the reliability and cost of the floating solar systems. And so, and Noria, from an R&D perspective, was really eager to work with the plastic additives team on our internal R&D and product development projects. And so yeah, and we throughout our time working with BASF, we've also interfaced with other groups at the company, the energy management team, and obviously the team at Macintosh, where we installed the pilot, and after interfacing with all of those different groups, we really see the potential for a really kind of mutually beneficial collaboration.
Yeah, maybe I would just add that in addition to our own internal R&D efforts, I think it's been really beneficial for us to talk to Joe and team and kind of see how the additives and the other materials can also be used throughout the solar value, the whole supply chain. I've seen BASF chemicals at some of my favorite producers that I know make parts that I trust for a long time and have done a lot of testing on. So that gave me a lot of extra confidence. We still work quite a lot with the incumbent floating rack providers. They're very established. They're all based on the high density polyethylene, and we're continue to work with the team to kind of test the BASF materials, get them more integrated, and really just show the long-term viability, which is very very important to all of us.
Perfect. And just before this contact, this project, did you know about BASF? Was there anything that you knew about BASF?
I did, but I mean, Jimmy and I both did our graduate work in material science, okay. So had heard of BASF many times, and like I said, been to a lot of injection molding sites in Asia and Europe, and always see little bags of BASF lying around. So.
So you didn't necessarily think of the cassette tape, though.
Oh, that too. That too.
So Joe, maybe just continue on those efforts. Can you share, more a little bit from our side, those efforts in R&D for this project?
Yeah, so I'm very fortunate to work with a team around the world. Jim and Tony in Asia, Marie-Laure and Tanya in Europe, as well as Tom here in the U.S. And we're supported by an excellent group of technologists and technicians that help us with our technology development projects. So we're able to kind of leverage that global know-how and bring that kind of combined institutional knowledge to help our customers. And in this case, it was really fruitful with Noria in terms of really having pre-existing knowledge that helped us readily settle upon a couple key materials that we could use and recommend for their application. In addition to kind of having commercial knowledge of where we could find readily available materials, right? Because we had a relatively short time frame where we wanted to really make this project successful. So we didn't have the time to really design a new material from scratch, but we knew who could provide those materials really ready to go. So that greatly accelerated the time frame for development and implementation of the facility in McIntosh.
Great. So maybe just a great leading into, okay, maybe Jimmy, you can share with us, what have we done so far in McIntosh?
Yeah, so sure. So the kind of the first main project that Nori and BASF worked on together was developing this new type of racking solution for floating solar, and that culminated in the pilot that was installed at the McIntosh facility last December. And so myself and a team from Noria went down to install that pilot after working over the previous year developing the system and the design. And the real main focus for that project was to help reduce, like Joe said earlier, reduce capital costs of these systems and make them easier to deploy in more locations. And so I'm happy to say that we were able to, from kind of the initial meetings and the conception of the project, within a year get an actual deployment in the field, which we were really excited about. And so that kind of project initially started with discussions about what material would be correct, and getting introduced to upstream and downstream manufacturing and material suppliers that we could use for the project. And when we went down to the McIntosh site, the team there was extremely helpful from a logistical perspective in making sure that we had the resources we need once we got there to actually install it. So Paula and Dale and the rest of the team at the McIntosh site were really helpful, and we're grateful for that. And while we were installing the system over the course of a couple days, we really just we had several people from the plant come down and talk to us, and were really engaging and interested in what we were doing, and that was also really great to talk to them and tell them more about kind of the floating solar system we were installing.
And no alligators, correct?
Yeah. We did not see alligators while we were there, but I'm sure they're around.
Not yet, not yet. So maybe, Neil, maybe I'll just throw it back to you. So we talk about, the project, but what is that? What are we doing with our renewable energy for this proof of concept, right? For this pilot, maybe you can share.
When we were going through our marketing plan that we initially started talking about, part of it was contributing to corporate goals, and one of those is the net zero emissions by 2050. And being in the plastic additives group, it was difficult to come up with a bullet point to put under that objective. And when we started partnering with Noria, try to find a site, this, like we were saying here, this is a floating solar installation at McIntosh that produces plastic additives that are in the system itself, in the pontoons. So pretty remarkable that we were able to connect the dots in this project with Noria and McIntosh.
Yeah, and we, Noria is continually monitoring the performance of the system, and to date it's been performing super well. Generating, to date it's generated over several thousand kilowatt hours of renewable energy to power the aerators that help treat the water in the pond. So that's helping also to reduce the amount of avoided CO2 emissions in that area as well.
Speaking of monitoring the system, I think we saw a visitor at the site trying to find out what was so first of a kind about the system. That was pretty interesting. There were a lot of positive and maybe this little interesting anecdote about the new press release.
Go ahead,
yeah. Yeah, there is a camera, and we every once in a while we'll take a look at it just to see how the system's doing. So
Really just make sure it's still floating.
Perfect. So, well, speaking of video, right? So maybe we also, unfortunately, our colleague Alison Ruffin from our McIntosh site, she's in charge of EHS as well as OPEX, wasn't able to come join us, but she did send a video. So we asked her a few questions, and from the site, standing in front of the floating solar panel. So let's hear what she has to say. Please roll the video.
This project's a great example of the collaboration and innovation that's going to be required to meet our aggressive net zero CO2 emissions goals by 2050. It highlights both emerging technologies like the floating solar application and the products that we produce at the McIntosh site, and showcases what we're able to do by working with our customers to achieve mutually beneficial goals. One of the primary goals of this project was to develop and install a working pilot application in less than a year. And we were able to work with our partner Noria to achieve that aggressive timeline. Another goal was to be able to power the aerator fountains on these ponds using just the renewable energy generated by these solar applications. And we were also able to achieve that. This project is a first-of-its-kind installation and emerging technology. So one of the challenges was that we were working with a concept that hadn't been fully developed. This allowed for creativity and innovation, but also required clear communication between BASF and Noria to understand what the goals were and what the outcomes were required for success. One of the key learnings here was to work with your customers and listen to what their challenges are and what problems they're trying to solve. That's how we were able to identify an opportunity for us to work with Noria and partner to develop this technology. So I think that's key here, is that we have to be partners with our customers and understand what we're both trying to achieve so that we can find solutions that are mutually beneficial.
BASF, we create chemistry.
Well, thank you again, Allison. Great video. And maybe, Alex, back to you now. Now, what does the future hold for BASF and Noria?
Yeah, I mean, hopefully a lot. This has just been such a fantastic collaboration. You know, it's fun, as we say, to nerd out on polymer stuff, as well as to actually show that we as a partnership can execute really quickly. So yeah, I kind of see our collaboration continuing in three main areas. You know, I'd say first, continue to work with Joe and Neil on product development and helping and kind of piloting and increasing the size of those pilots, and improving the cost and the viability of our own products. I think we're also going to be working kind of on integrating BASF materials into other parts of our ecosystem. So kind of working with, you know, finding other places to improve corrosion resistance by replacing some metals with plastics in some of the floating solar systems, as well as integrating, like I mentioned earlier, some of the materials into our kind of commercial partners that we already use today on our floating solar systems, into those HDPE or high density polyethylene systems. And I think the third main area, which I'm really excited about because it kind of brings everything back together, is kind of expanding what we did at McIntosh to work at a few other sites around the US to help offset and meet your sustainability goals. So kind of, and that's going to be hopefully a mix of floating solar systems using kind of existing and new technologies, as well as maybe some ground mount here as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think the partnership, like you said, has been fantastic from the beginning. And I think we mentioned the BASF energy management team, and I think Noria has demonstrated, you know, both their historic operations, but also the pilot at McIntosh demonstrated the success. And BASF wants to put an installation using the pilot material, the pilot design at our Wyandotte site. It'll be 100 times the size of the one at McIntosh. And then further, a 2 megawatt system at our Geismar Verbund site in Louisiana. Again, just showing the commitment to the partnership.
Yeah, and just you know, just those two projects, you know, have the potential to really produce you know, a lot of clean energy, over 5 gigawatt hours of renewable energy each year, as well as lead to 4,000 metric tons of CO2 emission reduction per year as well. And so just those two projects alone definitely, you know, will have big contributions to the clean energy goals and the sustainability goals of BASF.
Great. So, and maybe just a little insight, Neil, maybe you can share with us, you know, a project like this, that complexity, like what parties were involved, who needs to really be aligned so that this can be a success?
When we first met, I mean, we had a lot of calls with the the scientists and Nori just working on the polymer piece and the designing. But once we started, once we identified Macintosh, I mean, the team in Macintosh, Marcus down on the site, David working on the energy management team, all the site directors across North America were, we pinged them to ask them what can we do there. Our performance materials group is interested. I mean, it's touched at least a half dozen, maybe more different groups, function groups in BASF.
Great. And I guess maybe just another question to build on that. From your perspective, working with BASF, how has this whole process been, just working with our different experts and whole installation process?
So far, so good. Let's hope it continues. No, it's been great. So yeah, we came up with an idea that at the time seemed a little out there and a little difficult, and I think we really wouldn't have been able to achieve it without working with the BASF team. Like at some point we were hand building our pontoons and making lots of mistakes, and I think it was only by collaborating with Neil and Joe that we were able to kind of improve on that design and find, like Jimmy mentioned, some partners to help to build those much higher quality, and that's why we're seeing such a fantastic performance from the system down in Macintosh.
Great.
Yeah, I might add that we had a really good conversation yesterday afternoon, just talking about next generation materials, both from a processing manufacturing perspective to move away from hand-built to more of an automated production line concept, as well as consideration of different materials to really meet the long-term goals and cost performance. And it's really refreshing, I think, to see those the activities that we had last year manifest in the deployment of the Macintosh pilot. It's really fast, really successful, and really fun.
And speaking of innovation, when I actually shared with my kids that we were going to do this session about, floating solar, the question was, is it in the air or is it in the water, right? So I don't know if that's the next step in terms of
We're definitely going to fill them with hydrogen at some point and just see how high they go.
One of the questions at least that I received after the news release was, so why is this, first of its kind, right? That's just kind of call a lot of attention if there's already pontoons out there. Maybe you can share a little bit about, why that is.
Yeah, I can start here. So floating solar is not exactly like brand new, so this is not the first of its kind. There's well over 3 gigawatts of capacity installed globally. Most of that is in Asia and Europe, but growing here in the US. And as we mentioned, those are mostly built with high-density polyethylene structures that are rigid and take up a lot of space in shipping. So one time on an earlier pilot, I had the pleasure of driving a shipment of kind of traditional floating racking from across the U.S. And kind of in doing that, I realized that's a lot of air I was driving around. It was very low weight, lots of air. So we started thinking, what can we do to kind of save on shipping logistics? So that kind of pushed us to try to come up with a concept that would be flat pack and something that could be expanded on site. In addition, we were thinking we could even just remove the shipping altogether by finding a way to leverage US-based contract manufacturing in kind of a distributed manufacturing system. So that kind of pushed us away from using injection molding that needed really large dies and very specialized equipment to something that's more, I guess, kind of accessible to a lot of different sites.
Anything to add? Anybody else?
I would just also, I can add, to achieve kind of that flat pack design, we also, we explored different materials, and so the existing floats use high density polyethylene, and that's why we've identified, a new material or class of materials, specifically thermoplastic polyolefins, or TPO, and the additives from BASF to achieve kind of that flat pack concept.
Excellent. Thank you. So I know we're getting close to wrapping our session up, but I wanted to ask you, one of the things as I was doing a little bit of research about Noria right before is maybe you can share with us, and Alex, I'll ask you to kick us off, is just, the purpose, the company said you started 5 years ago, what's behind the driving force for everything that you do?
Yeah, I mean, so myself, I've been in solar for over 20 years, so it's it's all I know. Maybe that's not the best reason. But and just kind of going through that, we see that more and more of the green fields, obviously solar is doing extremely well globally. This is very good for the planet, and we got to find new ways of deploying solar that doesn't impact other use cases. We also wanted, like I mentioned, to kind of bring customers who thought they didn't have available land for on-site solar. We wanted to find a way to help them produce that. So we've got some other fun projects that are using mix of brownfields and messy water and wastewater treatment. This just gets me excited every day, just to kind of keep finding ways to bring more and more solar into the world.
Excellent. Well, thank you. Well, I want to first of all thank each and every one of you for your time, for the discussion. Definitely very interesting, a lot of learning. Hopefully our viewers as well really enjoy. For me, some of the takeaways was really that sustainability, it's truly a team sport, right? So we can't do it on our own. We have to work with vendors, our suppliers, our customers, and throughout the value chain to really make a difference, right? I think all of you, thank you for sharing your passion as well, commitment. Neil, as you mentioned, BASF is truly committed to our net zero goal for 2050. Right. And, I think innovation is also key. That's another key takeaway for me, right? So innovation was great. So with that, I want to thank everybody, again, all the panelists, and thank you all for joining us. And I think this is the last session, so stay tuned for more messages from our BASF sustainability team. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Jose.
Great. Excellent. Thank you so much, Jose. And thank you so much for the colleagues from the plastic additives business and Noria Energy as well. It was a really exciting opportunity, at least for me, to learn more about floating solar energy systems and how it becomes really a more durable and stable technology for all of us. Hi, everyone. I'm Luisiana Ribeiro. I lead the corporate sustainability team to BASF in North America. And before going to a few final messages, I'd like you all to take a look at the video that we want to share with you.
Hello, everyone. I'm happy to close out an exciting 2 weeks of exploring how we can create chemistry for a sustainable future. Events like these are inspiring because we truly see what can happen when we bring together diverse voices and perspectives with a shared purpose. I am energized that our sites, countries, operating divisions, and even venture capital teams, not to mention our suppliers and customers, were all part of these discussions. This is exactly where we need to be. Climate change is one of the biggest challenges we face as a society, and climate protection is an essential part of our strategy and our business. It will take all of us working together to move the needle. We have ambitious climate protection goals aiming for net zero emissions by 2050, and we are working on products and solutions that support our customers. We are increasing our use of renewable energy at our sites in North America and are committed to reduce our CO2 emissions in novel ways, like the floating solar installations at our McIntosh, Alabama site. We are building partnerships across value chains, both with our customers and our suppliers, to reduce emissions. And we are partnering with universities and investing in startups to advance technology and innovation that may one day help to create solutions to our biggest environmental challenges. Most importantly, through programs like this one, we are inspiring and challenging each other to make BASF the sustainable supplier of choice, now and in the future. We hope that this program has given you some energy and insight into what we are already doing. In exchange, I would ask that you pay it forward. Tell someone what you learned. Bring us your passion and your ideas to help BASF meet our goals. Keep sustainability top of mind every day. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Mike, for your exciting and encouraging words. I'd like to take the time here to reinforce some of the message that you've heard from Mike directly, and especially the one about bringing ideas to life. BASF, we are a chemical industry, right? And so we are at the very beginning of the value chain for many other industries like food and automotive or personal care also. And by being sustainable ourselves, by working on the sustainability of our product and portfolio, we can help those companies to be more sustainable too. And we hope that we have inspired you with all the information that we shared, with all the activities that we did during Sustainable by Design. And I hope that you are encouraged to take action, and feel free to reach out to us and to any of the partners that we had participating here on the Sustainable by Design series. We are really looking forward to collaborate with all of you. One other message that I want to say is that we are also so thankful that you attended our event, that we decided to, in celebration of Earth Day, we decided to be making a donation. We'll be donating 1 tree per each registered attendee through the organization One Tree Planted. So that's a nonprofit organization that has been working with a project in Brazil to help restore the forest. And so we are really proud to be partnering with them and making that donation in name of all of you. And before closing this event, I also want to mention that we want to continue to see you in future events and future opportunities. I want to mention that we are going to be sponsoring Circularity 2023. It's a conference that goes from June 5th to 7th in Seattle. And the conference will be focusing on circular economy. BASF will have a panel there around biomass balance. Really excited about that. We really want you to join the conversation and help us identifying and hopefully implementing some projects around biomass balance through the entire value chain. And if you missed one of the sessions from Sustainable by Design, we had 8 sessions. So you can find the link for the replay of the sessions in the registration page, the same one that you used to register here. So you can go there and look at the replays. There is also a link here on the resource center of your screen, and you can click on that link and you'll be directed to the replay of the other sessions. Finally, a big thank you to the team behind the scenes that helped put this all together. Ben, Jessica, Carrie, Catherine, you were all extremely helpful, great to collaborate with. And with that, I really want to wish you all a great rest of your day, a great and healthy and sustainable Earth Month. Take care. Have a good one.